Angus, ABL Pedals here, back with another exciting current affairs in which we look into how pedal circuits do their things. Today we have what is probably one of my favourite guitar pedal circuits. It is of course the Proco RAT. Some of you will know I've released my own version with some modifications which we will get into in due course, but I want to explain the circuit and tell you all of what it does. When we look over it, you'll notice it maybe starts from where we left off last time with the Distortion Plus DOD 250, in which it's a hard clipping single op amp distortion. But we'll get to that. Right now, let's have a look at the history.
While Proco's RAT pedal has become ubiquitous with distortion and overdrive pedals, there was a time when it wasn't. The RAT, as we know it today, was first introduced in Kalamazoo, Michigan around 1978. Well known for being able to go between boost, overdrive and fuzz, the circuit itself is based around a single non-inverting LM308 op-amp gain stage with two silicon diodes to clip the signal, followed by the iconic low-pass filter. The RAT proved to be very successful and is still to this day the go-to distortion for a lot of guitarists. Over the years, it's been used by everyone from Metallica to Coldplay and nearly everyone else in between.
To have a quick look at the schematic here, your guitar comes in through the foot switch. Now I'll cover bypass switching at another time because it's not what we're here to talk about just now, but it goes through a series of resistors and capacitors which are mostly to shave off some of the highs and lows to save amplifying the whole signal and make too much of an ugly noise. It hits the op amp stage, which is a non-inverting op amp, much like we saw on the DOD 250 MXR Distortion Plus. In fact, if you look at this, you will pretty much go, oh, Angus, that's exactly the same with a few bits added. Well, it's kind of a progression, as I said, it's kind of a progression of the Distortion Plus DOD 250 type thing, but with a few very crucial changes along the way. So then it hits the op amp, which has a gain pot across the feedback loop of the op amp, which is what I would consider the more traditional style now for a gain pot. And then it's got these two filters in parallel, which I think really are what contribute to the RAT sound. The way that these two filters work together as cut-off points for your signal is what gives it its very particular sort of between fuzz and overdrive distortion sound, along with the hard clipping and the filter, and the whole package is what gives it sound at the end of the day. But that is what set it apart from the DS1, from the DOD 250. I'd say that's what sets it apart for the most part. Now, there is obviously the very crucial internet argument of the chip, the LM308. I don't have an LM308. I've got a slightly more modern version, the Oppo 7. And a lot of people argue, oh, it's the slew rate, oh god, it's the slew rate. And while that's true, the slew rate is what can contribute to the distortion, but I would say it's the combination of these two filters and the gain and the clipping and everything more so, which is what gives the RAT its character. Like, there is a lot of gain. I can't be bothered to do the calculation right now to tell you how much gain, because it's changed by various other things too. But I don't buy into it being the chip alone, like, oh, the LM308, that's the one, and stuff like that. There's various other factors to the RAT being the RAT. So it leaves the op amp stage, it hits these two diodes, which are hard clipping. Now, it's two silicon diodes on the stock RAT, it's two LEDs on the turbo RAT, and it's two germanium on the U-Dirty RAT, which I'll show you the difference in a minute or two. That hits the tone stage. It's the classic low pass filter that I've changed on my one because I didn't really like what the filter is like past 12 o'clock, but that's regardless. Then it hits a buffer. It hits a JFET buffer, which just helps sort of bring things back up to the level a little bit, because when you add the filter and the diodes and everything, it affects the signal a bit. So it's an impedance thing, and it's just to help be a unity buffer, to help the signal get shunted along, to get buffered along. And then it goes to the volume pot. So as I say, it's pretty similar to what we looked at in the last video, the MXR Distortion Plus, but it's the continuation of it. And it's the factors, the way that all those have changed is what gives it its sound, and I think is what makes guitar players still love it to this day. I love it. For example, like, I make my own version. People absolutely love the Rat pedal almost 50 years on. So let's get back to the breadboard and have a wee look at it. Now that we've had a wee look at the circuit, let's have a quick playthrough of this. Again, I've got my top-down setup set up. This is my gain, this is my filter, and this is my volume. I'm going through a Les Paul type guitar. Here's my clean tone. So let's have a listen. So right now it's in the stock silicon diodes mode. As you can hear, it's got that in-between sort of distortion and fuzz that a lot of people like. But you'll notice if you roll off the gain, you get actually quite a nice overdrive sound. With that iconic low-pass filter, works the opposite way around from how a tone control normally would. That when you turn up the gain, really does make a difference. So as I've already said, the silicon diodes are the stock, the LEDs are the turbo, and the germanium are the dirty rat. So let's have a comparison here. So this is stock, let's hear LEDs now. So these supposedly came into fruition because someone that worked at Proco used Marshalls, and they thought that the way that the stock one worked just didn't really work very well with it. So you've got more headroom and a kind of lighter sound, which is contributing to more of a crunch compared to, and then when they're wide open, they really just explode, basically. So that's the LEDs. Again, that's the way that they kind of create an almost overdriven sound, but it's a lot more crunchy. Still got that kind of rat character, as I'm trying to sort of get across with these videos. It's not just one individual part, it's the way the whole circuit itself works is what makes the sound of it. So that's the LEDs. Let's hear the germaniums for the You Dirty Rat here. So a lot less output. But as you can see, it's a lot less output and it goes to the more fuzz territory, which is what some people love them for. Oh yeah, and this is no clipping. Which some people like, some people don't. It depends what you're after. It's a pretty common modification nowadays to have the three of them on a switch that you can switch between, and I think when Proco introduced the juice tone, which is two rats together, they had that as well, which is pretty cool because then you could probably set up one as more of a clean boost to either cascade one into the other or to use as a solo boost. The LEDs can be used as a lighter kind of overdrive sound to push or boost the kind of heavier sound from the dirty or the silicon version. As I say. In the last video, you'll remember I kind of broke the circuit down step by step to show you how your guitar signal progresses, and I'd like to do that again as well. I think I'll show you the input before the amplifier, after the clipping stage, and before the filter, and then, well, we've already heard it with the volume, so let's get this at the input stage here and see what the difference is. Here's the clean sound. So not much difference there really, other than it's maybe shaved a bit of the highs and lows off, because you don't want to amplify the whole signal when you're amplifying it, because it could make for some quite... This is the input to the amplifier, which is much the same. And then this is it at the output, which is going to be really loud. So yeah, really loud, it's an amplifier. Now what I touched on already is how there's these two filters that really set the Rat apart from the likes of what was around at the time, particularly your DS1 and stuff like that, where there's only one sort of cut-off filter for what's being distorted. These two filters in parallel is what really contribute to the Rat's sound, and I wanted to show how the two of those make a difference, and I think it's probably best to do it at this stage when there's no clipping. So that's the two of them, so let's remove one just now. really makes a difference to how much bass is getting distorted, basically. And a lot of people, it's quite a common modification, which I'll show it later, is to replace one of these fixed resistors with a potentiometer to kind of make a response, sort of, that you can change the character of the distortion itself. If you bought my core distortion pedal, it was a turbo rat with that particular modification, which it does make quite a bit of difference, so it does. And in my version, that's one of the places in the steer which I have changed. So after that, we hit the clipping stage, which we've already heard, but I'll just show anyway. So here we are at the clipping stage with the... So that's how it clips, and then it goes to the filter, which, as we've said, is a low pass filter, and then it hits a JFET buffer, which brings things back to unity gain. And you'd be like, well, what's the point of that? It's a distortion pedal. Well, when you add diodes and potentiometers and filters and stuff in it, it adds a lot of resistance and impedance to the signal, and it degrades it quite a bit. It's like if you added additional tone controls to your guitar, it would affect the signal quite a lot. And the same when you use more and more cable and true bypass cables, it builds up a lot of noise and just isn't very great for the quality of your guitar signal. So at this point, there's quite a lot of impedance, and this JFET helps bring that back down again. So this is it after the JFET, I think. Yeah, let's do it to here. So whilst there's not a huge audible difference, it's a lot higher in terms of signal flow. It's a lot higher quality, which then goes to the volume pot, which is a potentiometer that does a voltage divider between ground. In terms of modifying the RAT circuit, there's been countless, hundreds of different versions over the years, both by Proco, as with the 3 diodes, and countless other companies as well. And as you know, I've done my own version called the Stuart, which, by the way, is Polish for rat. That's the connection there. I'm going to talk through a couple of them now, other than the diodes, which I've already done, in particular in those filters on the op amp, and I'll show you as well. I adjusted the filter on mine because I really didn't like the filter past kind of 12 o'clock on the stock version. I love the way that it works, but I just wanted a bit more kind of a smoother sweep and tweakability on the filter stage, and get the clipping as well. So I can show you how these elements combined make for a different pedal. But firstly, so let's talk about what's known as, I think it's the Ruiz mod, which is to replace the resistor on one of those filters. I think it's the 47 ohm resistor gets replaced with a potentiometer, which is 1K in this instance. Now I've just got it as a trim pot here, so please forgive me as I faff around and change this, but as you can hear, it's quite subtle, but it changes the kind of bass response of the pedal basically. which combined with some of the likes of, so that's on stock. So if I look at the clipping dial, like this is basically the setup that if you bought the Core pedal that I did for the Core Festival, shout out to Core Festival, a celebration of noise here in Glasgow. This was what I did for that. So you could get some pretty nasty tones there. So having that as just one adjustment, that makes quite a lot of difference as well, you know, when you compare how it plays along with the gain and filter as well. Now I've fixed that value on mine because I didn't want it to be 4 knobs. So this is, that's how it is on mine. And on the Stuart I particular did an asymmetrical clip with germanium on one side and 2 silicon diodes. That's the kind of, that's that clipper, and then the fixed sort of roots mod. But the one last thing I did was to change this filter, because I just wasn't too happy with how the filter works. Past 12 o'clock. The 3 of them together, that's why I kind of went for it. It was like, it's still a rat, but it's just different enough. Between the 3, it kind of helps make it stack a little easier, which is, let's face it, we've all got more than one drive pedal these days as well. Maybe gives it a little more flexibility. It still does that rat thing of getting dirty as you turn the knob up, but there's just a little more smoothness to it. And as I say, it's still goes between overdrive, boost. You can kind of get clean boost if you want. Kind of overdrive sound to a fuzz if you want. So that's it. So I hope you've enjoyed that look into the Proco RAT and how I changed it to make the Stuart. I've got a couple of these still for sale on my website of the current batch if you fancy one even. What makes it such a cool pedal even by today's standards, and what helped set it out against the rest at the time. I love this circuit. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed yourself, please like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, and until next time, keep on rocking.